Yo, what's up guys? Let's take a look at my old school Pokemon cards. You have no idea how excited I am to do this. I've been wanting to go through this for a while now. Like, this is my childhood. Just look at all the bins and bags of old Pokemon cards. Sure, it's not ideal having them sit in a bin like this, but it's better than nothing. I'm just grateful these cards weren't thrown out. There's a lot of random and cool stuff in here, not just Pokemon cards. But look at this awesome Ho-Oh from 2007. There's other goodies like this too. I have this old 90s deck that's surprisingly in pretty good condition, and these 4 really cool childhood cards that I'll show you later, some of my favorites. Then I'll show you this binder with a bunch of old school cards, including some valuable ones as you can see right here, some duplicates too. Of course you gotta have some sleeves and top loaders to protect your cards like any good collector, got about 100 of each. Like, I'm definitely taking and sleeving that Ho-Oh, but I still need to dig around to see what I find. There's a bunch of random cards, not including Pokemon, but would you look at that, the talk of the town. I'm just looking for anything shiny or rare. I have a decent eye for that kind of thing. That is when it's Pokemon. But man, I gotta separate all of these baseball and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. We find some sick shiny cards from 2007 or 8. Dialga is dope. Then we find some more Gen 4 Pokemon. This is one of my favorite starter evolutions. I have the mini tin with both of these guys on it. Then we have to grab some bulk and organize it. It could be worse. I separate all of the cards like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, some other stuff like regular playing cards, you know, some shiny baseball cards which are pretty cool, and there's a bunch of stuff like Uno? Man, whatever, let's ignore those. Get out of here. Then we grab some more glorious bulk, but it looks like we have some good stuff in here. Maybe not in the best condition, but still shiny. Like that Diglett and another evolution. I'll just go through some of the bulk if I think it's worth it. I just like going through these old cards to see what I find. It's pretty fun. And I find these World Championship cards from 2007. I was wondering if this was worth anything, but probably not too much. I just thought it was cool that the player's signature was on every card, and the back looks pretty cool. Not bad. I have some old toys and other random stuff. I also had to save a few cards from getting damaged, but after digging around for a while, I spent some time organizing putting cards together, and you could definitely see some results here in a second. Just look at this stack of Pokemon cards. This is some historical bulk right here. A bunch of cards ranging from 1999 to 2009. Then we grab some more cards to organize, but let's see if there's anything cool. We have a bunch of random cards, but we do manage to find a Chimchar, one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. I put together a bunch of cards like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which I used to really enjoy, and I have a bunch of baseball cards because of my dad. I guess card collecting runs in the family. I had to separate the Uno cards from the real cards, like all of these interesting random cards like Dragon Ball Z and Naruto. I don't know where I got these from, but I'll take it. And yo, check this out. Look at this Gulpin and Swalot. Isn't this the coolest? Geez, Gulpin puts on a lot of weight when he evolves. Ooh, looks like we got more Chimchar. Shout out to the Fire Monkey. But okay, we finally cleaned this out, but would you look at all of this? Look at all of the cards in that bin. I organized and stacked them tall, especially the baseball and Pokemon. But look at all of these shiny hits we saved from that bin. I'm gonna be smarter this time around and put them in a sleeve. Enough with that bin that still has some cool toys in it. Now let's move on to the other bags of cards. Not as big, but let's see what we got. I think this first one has more of the Pokemon cards in it. The other one has a bunch of random cards. Let's grab a bunch of them and see what we get. It makes these not as valuable cards fun to go through because I remember a lot of them, but we do have some shinies here and there. It's like a scavenger hunt. The second half of these weren't anything crazy, even though it's always nostalgic looking at these older cards. They're more personal than valuable. And here's a moment we've all been waiting for. We're finally going through that binder. Just on the first page you have a holographic Erica's Clefable. We have a bunch of old school cards in this binder which holds a lot of sentimental value to me. There isn't a ton of pages, but some of them are front to back. Of course we have Chubby Pikachu, which is the best Pikachu, and the sick Giovanni's Gyarados. There can be a lot to look at on every page, so feel free to pause the video. Shout out to that Magikarp, Slowpoke, and Psyduck for the good vibes. Articuno's cool too. Fun fact, I actually didn't collect these cards and put them in the binder. I just got the binder as it is. I have another binder of Yu-Gi-Oh cards in a similar way, but I like separating and knowing which cards I actually collected. I've also been pointing out some of the valuable or favorite cards. I love that this is filled with cards from the 90s and maybe the year 2000 as well. but I just love that old simple look of the first generations. It has so much charm and charisma. I'm sure you can notice some duplicates and that some cards are missing from pages, but we're just starting to finish up on the binder. Man, I'll always cherish this binder with classic cards that I didn't collect. It just takes me back. Sorry there's no big grand finale to the binder. But let's take a look at these 90s cards that were sitting in a somewhat safe container for God knows how long, and I was surprised with the condition. I had to protect these cards as soon as I was done recording. I like how every card is owned by someone like Koga or Misty. I like trainer cards because I've been learning and appreciating them from TCG Pocket. I've been playing that game a lot and getting back into card collecting. I like when things are simple with the earlier generations. That's why I really like this deck of cards. There's some really nice looking cards even though most of them are pretty simple, like this Sandshrew is really cool. Again, I don't know where most of these cards came from, but I'll thank me or my parents. Now let's break open this old Pikachu pouch and look at some classic cards that I kept safe in this deck holder. But don't be fooled, this isn't an actual deck or anything. I just kept some nice and random cards safe. It's actually crazy to me going through this after all these years. Like even that first card hits really hard for me, Blue Eye Shining Dragon. But that's not even the best part. Just look at this 2007 Charizard that isn't in the best condition, but it's still a badass Charizard. It's not from the 90s, but I still love it. Here's some of the hits that were in that deck holder. Of course Charizard, but a range of cool cards, and not only Pokemon. We have some sick Yu-Gi-Oh cards that take me back, and I guess a Neopet card? Now don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure these are worth something, or at least I recognize them. Good enough. There were some bulk Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but let's move on. Here we have a big prized possession because this is my main old school deck from back in the day. But as you can see, I taped it a long time ago to keep it together. I don't know what I was thinking, but we have to get it off somehow, some way. Luckily all of these cards are sleeved, but you can already tell they're not in good condition. At least the tape won't damage them. Either way, I was struggling on camera, so here we go. Now we're good. But yeah, this deck is in horrible condition, I'm not gonna lie. I'll place them one at a time because I think it's actually worth going through, and it's unfortunate because it's in the worst condition out of everything I showed you. That's because I actually used this deck back in 2006 or 2009 and thought more about playing the card game instead of collecting. I mean, I'm still a natural born collector, you know what I mean? But I was just a kid, you know? That just means I'm committed to keeping this deck no matter how valuable any card is, and there are some cards that would be valuable if they were in good condition. I started making a second pile on the left for cards that I thought weren't as valuable. These cards are sick so far, but then you start to see some trophies like that Mewtwo and the one and only holographic Venusaur. Now it's not first edition and it's not a Charizard, but I still feel blessed to have that Venusaur in this deck in general. I even put this whole deck in top loaders praying that they won't be curved and bent anymore, but at the very least, they look better in hard sleeves. And I'm sure you can notice that my deck doesn't have any energy cards, because my funny way of playing Pokemon as a kid was just getting as many powerful cards as you can and just attack with them. No energy or anything. I would even shuffle and split my deck in half to play with friends. Oh god, I know it's horrible. Just so many memories going through these cards. I felt the urge to look at these after I started getting back into Pokemon. It's kind of funny that TCG Pocket got me back into it, and now I'm obsessed again. I'm buying packs, looking for deals online, and driving to the store hunting for them. I'm going about it very differently now that I'm older, and especially since I'm not playing the main games, but it feels good to be back. I mean, I never fully quit Pokemon, but there's definitely a big gap where I didn't interact with the franchise as much. I still don't want to get a Nintendo console, but we'll see how my relationship with Pokemon continues from this point on. It'll be interesting. But like I said, gotta sleeve up the Venusaur. It's so beautiful I'm tempted to hang it on the wall like a painting. That thing is a real piece of art. Man, I wish I had the Blastoise and Charizard to complete the trio of Gen 1 starters, but I'm very happy with a nearly 3-decade-old Venusaur. Oh man, this is a big one, you guys have no idea. You see, this deck holder is sealed. Well, not sealed very well by me a long time ago, but it's still sealed. And this is one of those moments you can't go back on and can only do once. Oh, it's crazy just looking back at this footage watching me cut it open after all these years. Well, it's one thing to keep official products sealed, but I was too curious and had to open it for the video. My god, just look at that. I do a pretty bad job getting it out, but I was still shocked that I even did that. But I knew what I had to do. I was too intrigued. I'm just skimming through it, but you can see a mix of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I expected more Pokemon. And as I started going through it, I started to notice something. With an exception of a few cards, this deck doesn't seem that special. It seems like I just stored away a bunch of random bulk and taped it up. Like, why would I do that to myself? Didn't I know I would open this up many years later just to disappoint myself? I mean, there was that sick Blaziken, but still, it's giving me mixed signals. It's not a total letdown, but I expected more from myself. Come on now. Well, let's cheer ourselves up by looking at all of the hits in the bin that I rescued. There's actually a card that I thought was valuable enough to show you after. Either way, I'm sure you can tell that these cards aren't in the best condition. Like, wow, just look at that Rayquaza. It's so bad that I actually love it. It can't be worth selling in that condition, and it's an antique at that point. I really like having these cards for sentimental value. It does kinda hurt losing out on monetary value, but it doesn't matter in this case anyway. It's one of those situations where I'm grateful these cards still exist and they're in my presence. The wear and tear gives them character. Oh, get ready for it. Here's some of the cards I've been saving for last, and there they are. Some classic holographics ranging from the 90s to the mid-2000s. Now these are some cards I was very shocked and surprised to find. I'm holding them like they're diamonds. They're cooler than diamonds. Man, that Gengar is so dope, I can't believe I have it. I had to sleeve these right away. Like, I'm so grateful to have a duplicate of this Clefairy from that binder, and this Pikachu riding a Wailmer just makes me happy. And man, this Entei hits me right in the nostalgia. I remember it so well, and it's in such good condition all things considered. I just love that I still have these cards and get to appreciate them after all this time. To me, that's partially what collecting is all about, and partially why I even make videos. The same way that these cards are a time capsule, I'll watch this video in the future looking back at these memories. And don't worry about that little white dot right there. It was on the outside of the card. These sleeves and top loaders are getting the job done. This is my second time getting back into the hobby 10 toes down, so I'm gonna do it right this time. I've been learning a lot and doing a ton of research. And here's some badass bonus Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are definitely worth something. I wonder if it's worth making a video on my other cards. Let me know down below. I think I would really enjoy making more Pokemon card videos specifically. I've been learning more about the market and how crazy everything is these days, but I know most of you are too. I wouldn't be an expert, but I think I've been learning pretty fast and could be a natural in the Pokemon market. Let me know what you think of that, but it's been great sharing this experience with you and recording this as a time capsule. I hope you enjoyed it nearly as much as I did. I just appreciate you watching until the very end. It really means a lot. This was one of those videos I had to make, and I'm glad I made it. Thanks for watching. Peace.